Hey gang, thanks for hanging with the Mechanic Ninja again today. Today we're working on a Troy built 5 horsepower 21-inch single stage snowblower. The question I'm going to be answering today is why won't it start? This machine's having a lot of problems. It will not start. To make sure we're doing everything correctly, just want to go over starting it with you guys. Turn the key to on, give it a couple pumps here. 1, 2, 3. Turn the choke on. Back here, choke goes up to be on. Give her a couple pulls, see what she does. Okay, mine is not starting. So we just eliminated that. We know that we're trying to start it correctly. So where to next? So when it comes to working on small engines, you want to make it as convenient as possible when you're working on them. Go ahead and just flip it up like this on its nose. It will not hurt it. I'm going to bring you guys over here closer. So a couple things. Right off the bat, I'm looking at this and I can see a problem instantly. This is the wrong gas filter for this machine. This kind of gas filter, if you have this on a gravity-fed gas tank, it is wrong. This is for a pump, a gas pump machine, like a riding lawnmower. They have pumps on them and that kind of thing. You need to. So first thing off, I need to replace the gas filter with this. This is the correct inline gas filter for a machine that is gravity fed. So we're gonna do that a little bit later. But that's the first problem I see. But our biggest question is, why is it not starting? So you're gonna need a Phillips head screwdriver or on an impact. There's 2 screws right here. Go ahead and pull those bad boys off. Then you're gonna need a flat head screwdriver. And this plastic choke adjustment. Just stick your flat head screwdriver there, kind of pry out. Might take a little longer because if your machine is super old. Oops, I gotta set those screws down. You can also pull on it. Okay, set that to the side. Okay, at this point, we are talking, there's a couple more bolts. One up on the top, you need to get a 5/16 wrench. And let me show you where we're at here. Right up here on the top, right here is a 5/16 bolt. Let's go ahead and get that out. Okay, I'm ready to pull that off. Okay, this one's being a little stubborn. Long-winded bolt here. Okay, 5/16, set them by your other screws. Now it's pretty much free. What you want to do is kind of just work it out. Remember, we have that choke lever coming out this side, so the thing has to come off that way. Bring it like that. You'll have also a ground here. And I just unplugged it out of my key. So go ahead and plug that back in. If you had the same thing happen, you can go ahead and just set that up here on top. It's going to be just fine. Okay, so we're here now at the carburetor. What we want to do is see if it's carburation or spark issue that we're having. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off choke. And then go ahead and set your machine back down. Go ahead and set your machine back down and grab your starter fluid. If you don't have starter fluid, I'd recommend buying some. But if you don't have some and don't want to buy some, and you have just a little bit of gas, just get a little bit of gas in a cup and pour it into the carburetor. I'll show you where. Pop it back up if you want. Right here, down into that hole. You just want to give it a little spray. Or pour your gas down in there. Okay, and set your machine back down. Make sure your key is turned to the on position. And then go ahead and try to pull start your machine. Okay, if your machine tries to start like that, if it even tries to chug, if it tries to do anything where it's indicating it's trying to start, you know that it is the carburetor that is your problem. Because once you know that it's a fuel problem, all the fuel for your snowblower comes through your carburetor. So if it's not getting fuel, it's not going to start. So we introduced fuel right into the carburetor where it goes right into the engine and it fired over. That tells us it is the carburetor. Next thing you're going to want to do is get this gas line off. It comes up right into here. And anytime you're dealing with gas, I recommend putting your safety glasses on. Go ahead and on these older machines, these gas lines are usually going to be kind of brittle. So go ahead and grab your pliers. Sometimes you have to twist it to get it off and then pull back on it. Okay, another issue that I'm seeing is this. This line goes up to my primer bulb. This is not hooked on. This could have been a big problem with getting it started as well. So we're gonna come back to that when we put it back together. Next, you're gonna need to grab a 3/8 and a 7/16 open-ended wrench. 2 wrenches, 7/16 and a 3/8. If you look behind your carburetor, you're going to see the bolts. There's a bolt right here, and then right on the other side there's another bolt. The nuts are on this side, so you're going to go ahead and take your 7/16 and undo that bolt, or that nut. Usually the bolt won't spin with the nut, but if they do, just put your finger on the back. If you keep having problems, the back is actually a 3/8. So just throw your 3/8 on it, and it will stop it. Remember, righty, righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. This one on this side is a little bit harder to get to. Once you break it, that initial break, maybe a turn, turn and a half, it should be easy to come out. Okay. My back started to turn, so I had to put my finger back there to stop it. Okay, so at this point your carburetor is free from the bolts. You can now lift it up, but back here, there is linkage hooked onto it. So it's not gonna be able to come off, so don't go rip it off. Just lift it gently. And then a good idea is, you can leave your carburetor sitting right there. Good idea to grab a Sharpie marker and put a line by the hole that your linkage is coming out of. Because there's a couple holes back there. You want to put it back in the exact same one. And then all you have to do to get it off, it's like a little S. Turn your carburetor like this, and it comes straight off. Okay, show you what I was talking about now that I got it up here. It came out of that hole, so I just put a little line right by it. So when I go to put it back together, I know where it came off. Next thing you want to do is take out these 2 Phillips heads, screws. Highly recommend using an impact gun. This saves on time and gets out the bolts a lot easier. If you do have to use a screwdriver, it's just a Phillips head, just takes a little longer. Go ahead and pull this off, set this aside, and I'll show you where we're going next. Okay, so we're moving over here next. I just have a 5-gallon bucket that I like to use. Zoom you guys out a little bit. 5-gallon bucket that I like to use to clean the carburetor. On the bottom of that carburetor, you'll need a 1/2-inch socket. Grab your 1/2-inch socket. Okay, what I highly recommend is carburetor cleaner. If you don't have this, you can just get a bucket like this and fill it up with about 1 inch and a half of gasoline that you can work with to clean your carburetor. So let me show you this. This is a very common problem. On this carburetor, this is where the primer bulb gas line goes to. It has totally cracked and broke off. That's why it was just hanging there. So grab some pliers and pull that off. That will give us a headache later in the video when we go to reinstall it. So pull that off with some pliers and take your 1/2 inch and undo that bolt on the bottom. Yours looks like mine. It's got a lot of blue and white buildup on it. Go ahead and set it in your bucket. Take a look inside your bowl. Is it dirty? Mine sure is. And then here is your float. On the back of your float, there is a tiny little rod right there. Go ahead and pull that out. Set that somewhere you're not going to lose it. And then your float has a needle on it. Just comes straight up and out. If you have to tip it back. You don't want that needle to fall out. Okay, so now you get your carburetor here. As you can see with mine, mine's pretty dirty. It's got all this dirtiness right here, gas buildup, and that is why it was not starting. Now, I'm going to show you guys how to clean these and hopefully get your snowblower up and running. So, 2 things you need to go grab if you do not have them. Go grab some rags, and then go grab a pin from your wife's sewing kit. If you don't want to use your wife's sewing kit, you can go buy these tools as well. This is a file tip cleaner that you can get at Home Depot for the tips of, what it's used for is clean out the tips of a welding rod. And it has all these different sized tip cleaners in it. You can also buy these off Amazon. These are carburetor cleaning tools. What we're going to use these for is cleaning out our carburetor's jets. Right here in the middle, you're going to want to send one of these down that main jet. Just come back and forth, back and forth. If you don't have these tools, like I said, you can use a pin, small piece of wire, anything you would like. Go ahead and spray off your whole carburetor with some cleaner. Spray it down in that jet, in your primer bulb intake, everything. Clean off the outside of this thing. If you have an old toothbrush or a nylon brush, you can clean off the outside. Come in and out like this in your main jet. And yeah, just kind of clean. Sometimes you'll have dirt on the outside. You want to get that all off this carburetor. Go ahead and spray it off with this. Especially that main jet down through that center. If you're using gasoline just in the bottom of your bucket here, just go ahead and soak it, dip it, clean it out, and send your brush or your file or your needle down through that again. Man, that's strong. Okay, go ahead and clean it out, spray it. Mine's looking pretty good. Okay, let that sit there and drain off. The next thing that is usually your main problem is this right here. The bolt that came out of the bottom of that bowl. As you can see, there's a hole right here going straight through it. And there's a hole in the bottom that's going straight through it. These usually are your problem areas. Go ahead and send your file or your pin through there and clean both of those out. Dip it in your gas, spray carburetor cleaner in it. Send your pipe cleaners, that's what these look like, through there. If it's too big, send your little tiny pin through there. You want those open, then I highly recommend having an air compressor. Again, these just make it easier. If you don't have these tools, you can still do it. Just may take a little bit of creativity. And then go ahead and blow those holes out. You want to get any debris out. To know that there's no debris, go ahead and hold it up to the sky. And if you can see daylight through that, you know you're doing good. Okay, perfect. That is clean and nice. You can also go ahead and blow out your carburetor. I highly recommend this. Blow it out, just put the air now. Stick it into your jet. Stick it in your primer hole. Okay, perfect. Next thing we want to look at is your bowl. Go ahead and fill that up with some gasoline or some carburetor cleaner. Go ahead and wipe that out with a rag. That's where your gas is going to be sitting, so if there's any debris or buildup in there, you want to get that out so that now when it's clean, we're not sending that stuff that's been clogging your carburetor back through it. Clean off the outside. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put the carburetor back together. Looks like my jet or my needle fell out. So go ahead and grab your needle if it fell out. Go ahead and just put a rag on the end to clean off the tip. And then bring it here. As you can see on here, this would just slide right over it. That little wire goes underneath, like so. Okay, bring that back down here. And slowly but surely put it back in that hole and drop it in. Okay, grab your shaft, kind of rub that off on your towel so that there's no debris holding it up, and then send it back through. Oh, there's a little bit of debris on mine. Yeah, go ahead and take a rag and wipe that off. Yours has a lot. Go send it back through your float. Sometimes you have to maneuver this around so you can line up the holes, and then make sure they're even on both sides. Okay? Now bring your bowl. Now the way that this goes on, see how this is a little bit humped over here, it's higher. That goes where this to the front of that. That's where it's coming up. Go ahead and put that back on. Take a look at your gasket while we're here. This gasket right here. If it's cracked, broke, ripped, torn, you need to replace it or this is going to leak. Mine looks really good, so I'm going to leave that on there. Go ahead and put that on top. And just kind of push it there and hold it there. Go ahead and grab your bottom bolt. And make sure that it's got the gasket on it. Clean off your gasket if it looks dirty at all as well. Or on the bowl where your gasket's going to go, clean that off as well. So you want a good seal. Get it tight with your hands. Come back over here to your 1/2 inch. And you do not want to tighten this super tight. Just go till it's snug right there. Because those will snap off. I have broke them before and it does not make your day good. I promise you that. Okay, perfect. Next thing you want to look at on here is make sure that your choke lever moves freely. Make sure this back one moves freely. Sometimes if the carburetor has been sitting a long time, it'll get super gummed up to where you have to force this open and it sticks if you let go of it. If that's your problem, go ahead and spray some lubricant on it or some PB Blaster. Spray it in here and you can spray it in there and just kind of work it back and forth till it frees up, and then you'll be back in business. Okay, next thing, we have our choke. I don't know what this is called, but it's the thing your choke handle is, your choke handle, I'll call it that. Go ahead and stick that up through right here, boom, and then it's going to screw back into there. Grab your drill if that's what you were using. I'm just going to send those back in slowly and gently. If you're using a drill, go very slow, because all these have to be as snug. I got a lock washer on them. Perfect. So we're back in business there. We're going to move back over to the machine and reinstall this. Okay, we are back over here at the machine. What you want to do is make sure you have a good shop rag with you. And you want to clean up this surface right here. Make sure this surface is very clean. Got to rub and scrub anything off. Make sure you do that. Go ahead and wipe off your gasket as well, and then set it back on there. Oops, it goes this way. I went and shoved a rag back there just so this bolt doesn't fall down into the engine. And another thing I want to do, take a look at your gas line here. Mine's pretty cracked. I'm going to take it off and I'm going to replace it with a new one. So I got my new one here and I put that different, just go ahead and shove that up on there. You can get gas line at any one of your auto stores. And then make sure yours should have these on it. Just take it off the old gas line and put it on the new. So bam, new gas line. If you have an old gas line like this one, where it's cracking and ripping and just brittle, you're gonna want to replace it. And like I said, do not use that kind of filter on here. Okay, so bring your carburetor back over here. What you're gonna want to do, grab this linkage. You already know which hole it goes in because you marked it with your Sharpie. And go ahead and feed it back in there like that. And you kind of got to move that over as well. Set it down on your bolts. One thing also, sorry. Go ahead and grab your bolt, stick your finger underneath it. That way it comes all the way through your carburetor. This is where it starts to get tricky. You got to keep that bolt up and put your nut on. So put your finger behind that nut, that bolt, to keep it up, and then thread your nut on. Okay. And then do the same thing on the other side. Thread that bolt up through, and then put this nut on. Just tighten them down with your fingers till they get snug. Just like so. And then take that 7/16 open-ended wrench, put your finger behind that bolt and just slowly tighten it. It should just grip. You shouldn't need to put a wrench on the back. Just go slow. Perfect. It grabs and tightens up. You don't have to put anything on the back of that bolt. And just snug it. Then do the same on this side. Sorry if I'm in your way. Hope you guys can see this good. Too bad they don't make it so you can get a socket in there. So just kind of play with it. Get it around where you can get on it, tighten it, and just get it snug. That's all you need it. Don't bear down on it to where you're gonna break it. Just get it snug. Perfect. Okay, so we're good to go there. Go ahead and hook back up your gas line. Shoot it back over that. Okay, now we don't want to forget our primer line. So go ahead and grab that. Mine, look at the end of it. If it feels corroded and broken, then go ahead and snip it. But this one actually doesn't feel too bad. I'm just going to snip the end so we have a straight edge to play with. And then go ahead and fit it back over your primer nipple right there. Just slowly feed it down over that. Like so. Okay, got your gas hooked up, got this on, and you are good to go. Just if anyone's wondering what this is, during the winter when you're snow blowing and stuff, if you get any moisture in here, you just push that and it'll drain the bowl. You can get any water out of that. Or when you go into wintertime and you drain your gas tank, you can also drain the bowl of the carburetor to get all the gas out. I say this in every single one of my videos, make sure you're running ethanol-free gas through your machine and you should not have any more problems. It cuts down on your opportunity to have problems. Okay, getting right back into it, take this and slide it over your key. And then take this and put this back on. Just slides right over the choke and right there. Go grab those two screws that we took off earlier. And they are Phillips, remember? Go ahead and sink those back down in here. And then we got that one on the top. Don't forget that one. So go ahead and put that one on the top. Oops. Okay. Sometimes it's best not to tighten these down all the way. You still need some wiggle room to line up that back piece. There we go. Sometimes this one is a little ornery. Okay. Once you get it started, it goes in pretty easy. Perfect. Okay. And then make sure that you tighten these bad boys down. And then put your choke actuator on. Stick it on like so. All you do is pop it in and it's working back again. And go ahead and drop your machine back down. Okay. Bring you guys back here. Okay. Now go ahead and put some gas in it. It should fire right over and run great. If for some reason it does not start, sometimes you have to help them along, spray a little bit of starter fluid in there and it should run great. But I know that some of these machines are very old, have been not taken very good care of. Sometimes the corrosion and the gunk buildup goes really deep in these carburetors to where if you don't have an ultrasonic cleaner or something like that, you're not gonna be able to clean them. For the most part, 90% of the time, you're gonna be able to fix it like we did. So it should fire over and run great. If for some reason it does not, you can buy a brand new carburetor online for pretty cheap. Just look up Troy Built 5 horsepower, 21 inch Tecumseh engine, and it should pull it up and you can get a new one. Like I said, I hope that doesn't happen. I showed you how to clean it. This works 9 times out of 10. But if it doesn't, you can always buy a new carburetor for under 20 bucks. Or just over 21, 22 bucks. Pretty cheap. So, awesome. You go ahead and smash that like button. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and start mine up. Got to add some gas. Add some gas. Give it a second to get that gas down to that carburetor. Give her a few primes. Oh, and put your choke on. Okay, mine fired right over. I'm sure yours will do the same. I'm out. You guys have a great day.